When a shocking twist is done well, it has the power to really stick with you. That can't be said for every reveal in gaming though. Whilst the absolute daftest is, of course, your dead wife is your bionic arm, there are some that aren't far off that. Plot-convenient devices like sleep and memory loss are just two of the laziest and dumbest, but it doesn't stop there. For every good, there must be a bad. For every twist about a soldier's real mindset, there must be something completely naff to balance it out. A karmic balance for shocking and dumb twists to coexist. With that in mind, and obviously there will be spoilers for the games listed, I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 dumbest plot reveals in gaming history. Number 10. Detroit become human. Alice is an android too. Throughout the years, many a piece of science fiction has tackled, can artificial intelligence replicate human emotion? Works like Blade Runner, I, Robot, and Ex Machina to name a few. It's a scary prospect, but a relevant topic. So trust good old David Cage to completely miss the point in one of Detroit Become Human's story arcs. Connor and Marcus's stories are, whilst a little bit hammy, somewhat relatable with established interpretations. Kara's not so much, and here's why. She's a robot nanny programmed for housework and other tasks. Seeing her break her programming and care for Alice is admirable, and has us thinking she may have learnt human compassion. At least it would have, if not for a little thing that completely derailed this. Something like, Alice is also a bloody android. First off, can't androids sense other androids? You'd think that'd be like an inherent software mechanic. But more importantly, it undoes any sentiment for Kara showing human learnt compassion and protective instinct, because she was never looking after a vulnerable human. For all we know, it's one android protecting another, born of inbuilt command. Number 9. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Desmond stabs Lucy. Assassin's Creed's current world story that ran alongside the Animus parts was divisive, but it did its best to keep events on track. Desmond's capture, Abstergo using him to find pieces of Eden, and the inevitable escape all played accompaniment to the leapy, stabby main gameplay. But with a twist like this, it's not hard to see why players weren't keen on it. It's established early on that Lucy, an Abstergo employee, is actually a double agent for the assassins, hence why she aids Desmond's escape. But then, right at the final moment, Desmond, under the influence of Juno, stabs her. And why? Because Lucy is a triple agent. However, there's a massive glaring omission here. Assassins in this universe are meant to be immune to influence from the Old Ones and pieces of Eden. It's why ancient assassins were able to break free of the Old Ones' facilities in the first place. Juno shouldn't have been able to possess Desmond, let alone steer his blade into Lucy's stomach. It was certainly shocking to watch, but as soon as that magic wears off, it leaves more plot holes than it does cliffhangers for the next game. Number 8. Resident Evil 5. It was Jill Valentine all along. Resident Evil doesn't do massively dramatic plot twists with sincerity. If players didn't see Albert, I wear sunglasses indoors, Wesker's betrayal at the end of the first game, then they probably weren't paying attention. Resident Evil does cheesy dialogue, grand and gruesome boss battles, all with a heap of self-aware stylings that we've come to love over the years. By the time of Resident Evil 5, after the spectacle of 4, gamers were very aware of what this series brought. As such, the masked lady that looks a bit shifty had fans immediately thinking, why hasn't Chris mentioned Jill much? And wondering why her absence was a mystery. Bear in mind, Wesker's all enhanced at this point, and we don't see Jill's body for an autopsy. Cue later game boss fight with Wesker and the hooded lass, and lo and behold, oh, it's only Jill. Like we didn't see that coming a million miles off. Also, why didn't Wesker have a more contingent brainwashing device than a simple detachable chess piece? Number 7. Death Stranding. HIGGS is the pizza fan. Here's a twist that isn't grandiose, nor does it ruin the entire experience that players have invested in, but it is downright daft. Just one of those ones that really feels like a waste of time. Which is fitting for Death Stranding, as it is a time sink. Delivering packages as Sam Porter Bridges is either entertaining or tenuous, depending on your point of view. But it is the main gameplay tenet. A lot of it does make sense given the whole Rebuild America thing, but that one chap that really likes pizza seems like a waste of time and resources, surely. Players never see the guy, and his requests are verbose and over the top for basically dough and toppings. But after a few deliveries, it just really feels pointless to keep doing them. But the shocking reveal, it was HIGGS the main antagonist all along. That's right, the guy who wants to cause another Death Stranding also likes winding Sam up by making him deliver pizza. Bear in mind, this is the same HIGGS who has you deliver a nuke if you're not careful. So dumb. Number Number 6. Dishonored 2. Delilah is the Queen's sister. Retcons, the act of retroactively altering past events to fit a new narrative, barely work. More often than not, they actually create new plot holes, the biggest of which being, oh right, and nobody thought to mention this before? Case in point, the familial bond between late Empress Caldwin and Delilah, the erstwhile leader of the Brigmore Witches. The Witches' Coven who, up until this point, had been more of a foil to the assassin Dowd than the Empire. But by the time the sequel came around and Delilah rocks up to Empress Emily's digs and demands the throne, it's because she's Emily's aunt. There's no mention of this in the first game, nor the DLC that specifically focuses on the witch. Why couldn't the villain just be a new hostile threat to spur the events of the game on? History is literally paved with events like this that the game could have interpreted. Alas no, the players were fed some shoehorned in retcon about how we all conveniently forgot that Emily and Delilah were sisters, living out a Prince and the Pauper lifestyle to motivate the throne grab. Number 5. Star Ocean Till the End of Time. It's all a game. The Star Ocean games prior to this one have been well written, if a little formulaic when it came to their stories. They are, in short, massively sprawling space adventures, often adding multiple endings to encourage different choices. Hell, the second story has 80 odd endings. So when it came to leap to the PlayStation 2, Till the End of Time had a fair bit riding on it to continue that storytelling style. And boy, did it drop the ball on that one. Familiar players are going to expect or want some big massive reveal about a world-destroying evil or something JRPG-like. And what did those who persevered get for their troubles? The big reveal that all of the events in the game are a simulation. That's right, the big twist is that we're playing a game within a game. That's what players got after the interstellar efforts the first two games laid out. From time travel, planetary destruction, and councils of wise men to it's all a game. No wonder the next game was called The Last Hope, as this game sank a lot of enthusiasm and faith in the series. Number 4. Super Mario Bros. 2. It Was All a Dream. Fans of the now vintage TV show Dallas were in uproar when a large part of a season was subject to an It Was All a Dream rug pull at the start of the next season. And as such, it's been parodied over the years over how absurd it was. But when a video game does it, that's just, well, it feels like the whole endeavor was pointless. Was dodging those horrible floating masks for nothing? Were all those deaths at the hands of Wart pointless? Yes, it seems as it was all the figment of a sleeping Mario's dream, who clearly doesn't get enough excitement in his day job, which is apparently plumbing. Now, part of this could be down to the strange history behind Super Mario Bros. 2, in that it's essentially a reskin of another game, Doki Doki Panic, which in terms of divergent gameplay explains why it's not really considered story canon in the Mario universe. But it's not necessarily an easy game either, with players wanting a little more in their resolution than, oh yeah, it was just Mario having a snooze. Don't worry about it. Number 3. Metroid Other M. Madeline is a mother brain clone. Metroid games throughout the annals of gaming have always been pretty simple. Bounty hunter kills evil forces. That's it. That's all we needed to keep the formula going. Samus is a badass, Ridley keeps coming back, and the Metroids need stopping. But when Team Ninja got their hands on the license, that's when it all got really stupid. One of Metroid's key selling points is the minimalism in the story, letting players go explore and bookend the plot instead. Whereas Team Ninja thought that cribbing aliens and making Samus a broody and suddenly parental person would pass muster. It did not, but that's not the dumbest thing here. No, the dumbest plot reveal in the game is that Madeline, the missing scientist who led the Mother Brain research, is an artificial intelligence / clone of Mother Brain. And how sly is this reveal? Well, the project name is MB to show how subtle it is. It's been long established that Mother Brain is the big evil in the series, controlling Ridley and space pirates. But making clones that look and act human? Too obvious, too predictable, and too daft for a Metroid game. Number 2. Final Fantasy VIII. All Amnesiacs. Amnesia as a plot device has been massively overused in media over the decades, when a big reveal is, it was X character all along, but they'd forgotten. For the umpteenth time, the dramatic effect wears thin. But leave it to Squaresoft to not just double down, but, well, square it. That's right, it's not just one member of the edgy teenage world savers with plot-convenient memory memory loss, it's pretty much all of them. Turns out they all went to the same orphanage together. That in itself is one massively lame reveal. The next doubling down part, Irvine dropping some late game knowledge that he knew this already, and that it's the use of the game's summons that caused the amnesia. And what? We had to go through several discs worth of wondering when some reveal would happen, and the bullseye shooting Burke didn't think to bring it up sooner? It just smacks of a writing team that ran out of time, money, or inclination that went, and they all grew up together. Go team, save the day. Probably the same laziness they brought over to Final Fantasy IX Story 2 now that we think about it. Number 1. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. You're not Big Boss. Fool us once, Kojima, shame on you. Fool us to play as someone that isn't the series stalwarts that games had come to love, then doubly shame on you. You'd think after the iron bile aimed at the Snake Raiden Switch and MGS2, Kojima wouldn't pull this on the fans again. But he did, and then some for Metal Gear Solid 5. Did it ever seem strange that some characters don't seem too keen to see Big Boss? Or weirder still, have to double take and confirm it is him? Perhaps Boss's lack of chat seemed odd, considering MGS is known for word vomiting. Turns out there's a bigger reason for that, and it's not just the Sutherland for Hater voice actor switch. No, it's because Boss isn't the boss. He's a medic hypnotized to pretend to be a boss. That's right, this massive sprawling conclusion to the Big Boss saga is that players don't actually play as the boss at all. Even worse, it retcons as far back as the original Metal Gear games. It just raises more questions, the biggest being, why did we spend 60 hours being duped? That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other dumb plot reveals in gaming history that really bothered you. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you're liking, come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness. Thanks.